ModernPath, and this is quite exciting for us as well, because we have been, of course, talking about the product and the offering quite publicly, and having lots of meeting with clients and partners. But now, first time speaking publicly, so let's see. I hope it goes well.
Very exciting. So hi everyone, my name is Susanna Kämäräinen. I'm one of the co-founders of ModernPath, and have been now working with Pasi for some 3 months. And actually I noticed many of our current customers also online, and some that we have just initiated the discussion. So very happy about that. My role is I'm the Chief Revenue Officer, responsible for sales and marketing, but most importantly, responsible for customer success. So it's a passion of mine to support our customer development teams to be the best ones in this AI era.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Susanna, for your introductions. My name is Pasi. Probably most of you know me, but if you don't, I'm the sort of primus motor of ModernPath, the original founder. So I guided my co-founder team during this autumn. So I have been kind of spending my last, let's say, 1.5 years in doing this AI assisted development, training over 1,000 developers in doing that one. And now we are sort of presenting the current state on where we are regarding these practices. And like said, we also started from the sort of going from the vibe coding and the doing quickly protos with AI like a year ago, and then quickly proceeding to the next topic for us, which always has been on how to do production quality code, and that's what we are going to be talking about today. So 150 participants, so great to have you in here. Let's get started with the topic. If you have any questions during the presentation, I will try to keep it like let's say 30 minutes of presentation only, and then we'll leave some time for questions and commenting as well. So if you have any questions, you can write them down in chat, or you can also raise your hand, so we are able to sort of promote you to be able to speak. And we are kind of welcoming all interactions, all comments, all questions, because those are the ones that we will also learn ourselves on answering them, and we will know a bit how well we have succeeded in communicating these practices. But yeah, shall we get started? Or do Susanna still want to say something?
Yeah, I would also encourage. So it's truly a passion of ModernPath to facilitate learning. So that's why we're here for. So feel free to, like Pasi said, have questions, or also in the meantime during the presentation, and then we're happy to dive into those while Pasi has given the first bit of presentation. So Pasi, over to you.
Okay, let's get started then. So topic of today, like I explained just a while ago, is about scaling AI-powered development, and myself, like said, I'm a hardcore developer / nerd, having done programming for over 30 years, have made it as my both hobby and both profession. So I have kind of during my career, I have been coding at least like 1 million or 2 lines of code in basically all the possible environments, starting from embedded systems to mobiles, then of course web, and even kind of the bigger like enterprise cloud systems. I sort of, even though I still keep myself as a programmer, let's say that my professional identity has always been a software architect. So besides the interest of actually writing the code, I'd like to sort of think about the architectures, and we will be sharing the materials at least. Could we actually even? We are being recording as well. So
yes, we've been recording. And actually, Pasi, just quick note: we can actually see a little bit of the admin screen on this. If you can move it down, so that might be helpful.
Admin screen
On top of the slides.
Okay, I cannot see it.
Okay. Are you in a slide sharing mode, in the presentation mode?
The Google Meets pop up. The Google Meet.
You are seeing that one. Okay,
yes.
Right. I will try to close this one then. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, great.
And we do have a recording coming up and the materials. Yes, absolutely.
Really good. Really good. So continuing on my story, like I said, I keep myself a software architect, and the sort of my passion on both exploring on how the architecture and the sort of decisions we make in the architecture level help us do better code, do more productive work, and especially on how to help developers on grabbing the correct way of workings, and also on how to or where to actually implement things. And these same practices I have been learning as a sort of in my actual programming work or architecting work. We have been applying those into the practices we now today do with AI. Like I said, I have been training more than 1,000 developers during these 1.5 years on these AI development practices. So I have quite a lot of experience on how to talk with the developers, how to approach this AI, and I'd like to think that I know quite well on how developers can better get a grasp of AI, and what are the biggest fears and the doubts that the developers have. I said that I have done during my 30 years of career or 1 million lines of code. Now with AI, I have done more than 3 million lines of code, which kind of explains the scale we are currently seeing here. Of course, not all of that is for production. Much of that one is about documentation, and also on the overall, let's say, lots of trials, lots of trainings, and so on. But besides that one, I have been doing around 10 production applications with AI. So I'd like to think that I know what I'm talking about when I talk about production and development. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. Many people know me from Lastbot already, which was my previous startup, and it's still kind of involved in that one, but now concentrating fully on ModernPath today. What we are sort of seeing, or what everybody's already seeing or hearing when we look at the news, when we look at the kind of messages coming from the big companies and the influencers in this area, we all know that the work of programmer is going to change. So much of the code will be AI generated in next upcoming 5 years. People are getting already quite big gains on how they utilize AI on their actual work. But the problem is that this is not actually showing in the productivity gains. So all the kind of official research that we look at are telling that the overall benefits or productivity gains, they're actually pretty small. So we are talking about like a 9% in overall developers. And as we sort of go into a bigger organizations, the lower the impact is actually currently. So while, for example, myself, I'm able to do single tasks, let's say 100 times faster than without AI. I can do prototypes 10 times faster, and in overall, I can feel like 3 times faster than I would be without AI. But when we look at the team level, when we look at the organization level, there are lots of different bottlenecks that prevent teams or organizations to get all the benefits we want from the AI. And there are lots of reasons for that, but I'm not going to dive into the details. But usually they are related to code quality, code complexity, how to debug or test all the possible code in there. Still, we are suffering the hallucinations and different workarounds that AI does for the code. And there is still, at least when we look at a broader scope, there's a lots of gap in the skills and experience of the people on utilizing AI. But there's actually the biggest gap currently, or the biggest thing that prevents AI to actually scale is the trust. So here we have a Finnish developer thinking that there's a 100,000 lines of code generated by AI, then you need to either press the accept button or reject button. And then you are thinking that, okay, how can I trust what actually AI made without looking at every single line of code that the AI has been producing? So that's why I do think that this trust element is one of the biggest things that we need to solve one way or another before we are able to get the benefits we get from the coding part into the actual full end-to-end delivery of software. Okay, then if we go just a bit beyond the coding tools, there are also this sort of organization or architecture level problems that aren't actually fixable by the actual code. We need to kind of dive into the actual organization or the processes way the companies are working. And also we think that one of the biggest things in here is the architecture or the sort of overall quality of the end-to-end systems that we see currently. And these are all things that they make AI adoption much lower than it could be. And we do hope that our solution, which brings kind of the abstraction level of AI a bit higher from the code level into the architecture level, we can actually solve some of these problems. So let's have a quick look on what ModernPath is actually doing, but that's not the sort of main topic of today, because I want to show you in practice how these different ways of doing that we have invented here at ModernPath, how they could actually help you even today in your actual coding work. Okay, of course, the biggest thing why we started to develop a new tool in here is basically the shift that we currently see from the developers' work. So we are going from coding actually into more doing specification and orchestrating the AIs than actually writing the code itself. We believe that the code at some point will be just a generated artifact, and we do think that the value will actually lie in the specification and in the verification phase, so that how does the code actually match the specifications. So we basically built a tool for that one. So these are the three key things that the ModernPath brings on top of AI-assisted like a coding agents. First of all, the most important, the brain of our whole software is the system and architectural understanding. So by doing deep code analysis, doing a lots of this relationship mapping and automated documentation from multiple angles, our system is able to think and understand systems like system architects currently do. So we want to bring in all of this knowledge within all the repositories of the company into a one knowledge base where we can query a lots of different kind of data from multiple angles. So while these AI coding tools, they mainly work within a one repository because that's what you open with your IDE. We, as a ModernPath, we are always understanding the full scope, and we are able to plan and specify projects and tasks that actually span over multiple repositories. And then, of course, the third one being able to provide this trust and transparency through different kind of reports, audits, reviews, and also on making it easy for people, kind of humans, to understand on what the change actually is. Okay, we are not diving too much into the actual product itself, but it's actually consisting of a centralized system architecture knowledge base, which we kind of ingest from the version control. Then we have lots of different kind of agents within our systems, which are able to, for example, document new things into the architecture knowledge base. They are able to do specifications that are actually being then sent to the coding agents. And then once the development has been done, we have this audit or review agents, which will be providing the transparency and information on what was actually implemented. There will be UIs for people to design and architecture and specify new things. There will be UIs for people on tracking real time on what is happening within AI and the human organizations. And there will be UI for people to kind of do these evaluations. So looking at the different compliance reports, security audits, architecture reviews, unit test, integration test reports, and so on, so that this could bring enough kind of a clarity on whether AI was doing the correct things or not. But let's go to the actual demo then. So yeah, today we are going to AI Power Chromium, or actually I have already done that, but we will be a bit testing that further. And we will be kind of looking at the 4 different steps on how I think, or how ModernPath thinks that we are able to scale from vibe coding into a full, like a system architect level AI. First of all, we will be looking at on how to document the current code base and how to structure that one correctly so that AI is able to navigate that one. Then we will be looking at on how to do this architecture phase. So how are we building specifications grounded on the actual documentations we created about the system itself. Then shortly about the spec or test-driven development, for which we will be setting up different workflows and processes for, and then also looking at how on a repository level we can do this auditing and review of the tasks. And these are the overall on what we are doing. So we are doing all this one inside a code base. So instead of using our own tool or database, we are making this as part of the original code base or the source code that we are working with. So why I actually chose to work with Chromium is basically because that was the biggest source code I could find from GitHub or the overall version control. So 36 million lines of code, which consists quite a lot of different components and done mainly with C++, but also with Java and JavaScript. And this is the overall illustration of the architecture that was actually made by Nano Banana based on our own architectural documentation here. But yeah, I want to choose as big as possible because that's the biggest doubt that we see from our clients that, okay, this might work for a small applications or small code bases, but definitely this not will work for my code base. And now 36 million. If you have bigger one, we are up to take that challenge as well. But I think that this covers quite a lot of different company code bases. Yeah, we are going to look at one single feature I already implemented actually during Sunday. So yeah, I did a bit of small extension on top of this Chromium browser, where I'm able to have this AI-powered structured data collection for the Chromium. So basically, what this allows to do, I can actually quickly show you that one. I will open up the ModernPath browser here. Yes. So if we, for example, search at ModernPath here, and then I press the command here, I can just easily, like here, see the what I have into this page, and then I can ask to extract all search results. Yeah, then it's accessing the actual DOM and sending them to AI. And we can see here the results that it's storing, but they are also stored actually in a database that I can access then from my other system. So I can quite easily now go and collect a lot of data to my database and then use that, for example, in our own operations when needed. So this is what I did. And it also contains like settings for that one. So if you look at the settings here, there's also a setting part for AI data collection. So here we add the Gemini API key that we use for the actual AI in there. So this is the feature which I implemented. Like I said, it took something like 2 hours for me to do. And today we are concentrating on seeing whether that's actually correct or not. Okay, we can already test it, that it's working. But let's look at the code and the architecture done by the system. And like I said, if you have any questions here, we can always dive into them. But let's, okay, maybe I will put this bigger one so that you can see. Okay, the overall code base, the Chrome source is actually included in the source folder, and all the other folders, they are either made by the compiling tools or they are containing the docs and specifications that I have been making in here. So if we look at first of all, the documentation I created using our tools. So this is a kind of we can all look at that one also from the instructions point of view. We should have the documentation plan in here. So we are having this multi-layer documentation, which means that like we are splitting the code or understanding of that one to architecture level, which is defining the high-level system design, deployments, overviews. Then we will have a subsystem level documentation, module level documentation, and then also like a fourth level, which is software patterns that explains on how different things are done, kind of within a certain submodule. For example, like how to implement a new setting for the Chrome here. So if we start from the architecture level, we can actually like open this one as a do I have the it's here. Preview here. So this is overall after scanning the whole code base. So this is describing the overall top architecture of Chrome system, and it can sort of understand the layered architecture, system components, and it always links to the actual folders in there. It has the dependencies documented in there, and then sort of the main data flows that it found from the system. But like I said, this is just a high-level documentation. But like you can see, we have this navigable system where we can go directly into the subsystem documentation on how the Chrome subsystem works, and we can see in here the different UI components, Chrome features, and so on. This is not probably in the detail that I would do for actual project, but it's typically enough anyway. And then it has the references to subsystems where there are dependencies for that one. And if we just dive in there a bit. And like you can see, all the different levels of documentations, they are linked to the previous and the next level as well, so that allows AI to find a correct place for any feature or any knowledge, and then it can navigate between the different levels of architecture, only using just a file browser and reading the different file formats in here. So this is the overall if we still look at the modules that it has in here. So inside this Chrome subsystem, there are 5 different modules, and they typically also link already to the actual source code. So we can navigate from the top level architecture into the actual source code. And this all documentation in here is basis for all this sort of planning we are doing within our system. There are also some other aspects we typically document from the system. So code structure is, of course, the most important for coding agents. But for example, we also document the different features and use cases, what kind of features there are from the user's perspective, and then kind of features there, and they are divided on the different epics on how download extensions, media playback works, and features. So how this is done, and all of this one is then linked to the actual document, like a architecture level documentation. So this is really crucial. We do think that this is one of the key things in order to make AI to scale into bigger code bases. But let's not stick in there. You can later ask me questions if needed. But let's. No, okay. Okay, so let's look at the next step, which is on how to make a grounded specification from the document itself. So, Susanna, is there some question in there that you could ask
Well,
from me?
I think we can dive into this later on if you want to
Okay.
give it a flow. So maybe,
Okay.
yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that one. So actually now, in order to demonstrate this correctly, I actually drafted a new feature or specification that I would like to create for this Chrome, which I called AI Visualize. So the concept of this new feature is the same that we have in this AI structured data collection, but instead of collecting data, we are generating a summary slide as image using Nanobanana Pro image model. So I'm linking to the documentation of those. And then I tell on which model it should be using that one. And then it should be utilizing the same Gemini API settings than the previous one, but then provide a new UI on the sidebar. And then I ask that please provide possibility to choose from following image styles: cartoon, infograph, slide, or illustration. Then I ask it to first to do a document research, and then do a grounded specifications into the feature folder. So let's start that one, and let's look at a bit about the planning operations in here. And I'm using the Opus 4.5 model in here. Now it's kind of telling me that it has understood what I'm asking. This is also part of our workflow in there. And then it's reading different specifications from the original one, because we are using the same settings, for example. And now it's doing the actual specification and documentation there. So if we look at then the specs folder, we have the AI Visualize in here. So it's now documenting that feature in there. But while we let AI to work on that one, we could take a look about the already implemented feature. Or actually, let's have a look at the specification. So this was specification created for the original feature. Let's look quickly about that one. So what problem does it solve? Why is this needed? What are the limitations currently? Use cases, different requirements we will be needing for that one. Non-functional requirements as well. The overall architecture design on where we will be implementing that one. Different component registrations. So all of this one is already grounded by the documentation itself. We have the data flows documented in here, API changes, how to use different components. So like we can see, this is already affecting quite a lots of different components. And then when we look at the end of this documentation, there are links again to the actual documentation, so that once we start to implement this one, we have both specification and the actual links to the subsystem and the different patterns that we will be using in this implementation. So this is a bit like the spec kit from GitHub, but this is going into another level on grounding all the decisions on the documentation itself. And that's why I typically speak about documentations differently than specs, because specs, they are grounded somehow on the current reality, which is actually described in the documentation. So this is more describing the future now. So, okay, and then it also creates a test plan for the feature. It creates a rough UI design, which is still this ASCII mode. It could be done also with Nanobanana if possible, but now I just added this things in here. It describes the data model on where we are collecting the actual data, and it describes the overall API model for that one. So these 5 documents served as a basis for implementing the actual feature in there. Then I did the implementation. Like I said, it was not one-off thing. Like when we are working with C++, we already had these pointer problems and different kind of crashes during the development. And when we are building a kind of like a native Mac client, not a web client, it's really difficult to debug and get all the logs and crashes and so on. So it was not, I'm not going to tell that it's kind of a out of the box doing all the things. So it took like 2 hours to really make it work. So lots of crashes on the meanwhile. But then once it was actually done, I was documenting, of course, all the problems I had within the implementations, and they were actually brought into the instructions and documentations so that next time they might not happen, at least on the same level. Let's see how it goes today. But then, like I said, the overall development is utilizing the spec-driven development and test-driven development. We'll hopefully get to see on how it actually executes this new feature today. But let's dive into the 4th one, which is the how to audit that we did a correct thing. So first of all, let's look at this one. So documenting the outcome is part of the workflow. So I can always say that, okay, now the implementation is done, please document the outcome. And what it will be doing, it will be creating this overview report, and then it will be running different like auditing systems or guides done with a markdown for the actual code base itself. And then those will be just reported in here. But let's look at, for example, what the task report itself is telling to us. Okay, so this tells we did like a 3,500 lines of code. We created or touched like 26 files. We did 6 test files, 1 browser test, and 2 Mojo interfaces, which I actually don't know what they are, but they're related on the Chrome itself. And then I have a list to the actual implementation summary, which is this one. We have the fixes report, we have the testing reports, security audits, compliance audit, and architecture audit. And then all of this one in here as like a diagrams. So this is explaining on what we did. It's defining the system architecture where this was made. It's showing the data flows that we implemented in here. Implementation approach. Component breakdown. The overall directory structure on where this is actually implemented. Key design decisions. Technology choices. Security and privacy by design. Compliance features. And then also this audit results like compliance and security and those audit results and so on. So maybe we can also look at let's go in some of the details in here. So already by reading this one, if I could understand well the system we are talking about, I could already see that if this is done correct things or not. Let's, for example, look at the architecture audit report. So here we can see that there are there are totally 67 checks, and the most of them are actually passing. It's looking at the layer compliances, process boundaries, subsystem things, design patterns, inter-process communication designs, threading and concurrency, and here are something that didn't actually do. So we didn't actually do performance metrics at all. So that's where it's actually failing. And then if we look at the, for example, this security audit report, so this is like providing this information. Now that the specifications here are ready, I'm not going to read them through. It doesn't matter if they are not kind of fully correct for this demo. So I will just please continue. Yes. Okay, so I will just let that do the implementation. We will be seeing some working while it's doing that one in here. Let's look at the testing report still, because I do think that that's one of the most important things. Okay, it's still living last year. It's probably the Opus model. But then I have the test coverage reports in here. Okay, we didn't do any tests for side panel view. So this is where it's actually failing. And so probably now I would actually continue on doing the rest of the tests, fixing the rest of the kind of problems in the architectures and compliances and so on. But this is kind of providing quite good confidence for me to continue in the whether I would accept or not accept the actual feature. But I think that's the overall like a structure or the phases where we run this one. So first documentation from the whole system, and then feature by feature we are doing specifications which are grounded to the documentation itself. And then we do the actual implementation for which we utilize this test-driven development. So we can already do it. So it's doing the C++ code in there. And then once that is done, I actually then I manually tested and debugged until it was working. So there's still need for humans in that phase. So I do not think that we are really close on AI doing spec to code without any errors any soon. But once I was done with that one, then I asked to generate this comprehensive reports, which all of them are also defined in the both in the instructions and then in the agents.md, which is the instruction file in here. And if you look at the cursor files, we have also in here documented that step separately. So it's defining that what do we actually run. So now this is all implemented inside a code base. Of course, if you would at some point take a ModernPath platform into use, then it would be like of course handled by our tool itself with way more bigger accuracy. But this already shows the overall sort of secrets behind this our process, and we have done like a really magical stuff already with this one. So we are pretty confident that once we scale this into a better tool, better orchestrated tool, we really can change on how the enterprise software is made. That was my presentation. I will leave this coding open in here, so maybe we can take some questions at this point.
Thank you, Pasi. You're such an inspirational person, and I'm very lucky to work with you closely. Let's look at some of the questions we got. First of all, Mika asks about, this is a good one. So now, Pasi, you worked on the Chrome extensions with good documentation on APIs. There's some code snippets, examples, but what about when you work in closed environments with various software languages, platforms, systems with maybe not so savvy documentation?
Yeah. Good question. Of course, within ModernPath, we are ready to ingest any kind of a documentation. So it's not just code. So we do understand that there will be kind of a dependencies to different like data storages, some closed APIs, some kind of a proprietary CRM or ERP systems and so on. So in the platform level, that's what we do within our own architectural understanding. So that can ingest any kind of documentation. We could mimic that one here inside the cursor as well. But of course, we do see that they are always kind of a bigger questions than considering only one code base or one repository, because they are belonging into the architecture level. So yeah, we do see it's one of the big challenges, and we will be providing solutions for those.
Mika, let me know if any further questions. And Pasi, maybe to say that you always start with a customer, kind of the architectural documentation planning, and then diving into the documentation. So there's some kind of very specific understanding of each system we work with. Let's see other questions. I think Arto, your question was answered, but let's tap into this one. So agents MD instead of cursor rules, which one to choose? And I think Topi, who's just joining us,
yeah,
responded to that. But what's your take?
Okay, like I said, like agents MD is currently the sort of default, so I will typically put all the sort of project agnostic things inside the agents MD, which I can then kind of utilize with other. So people can open this one with GitHub Copilot or Cursor. Then I just for this project where I wanted to dive into the Chromium, I made some custom instructions here inside the cursor rules. So there's no, you would need to design these based on the environments that your developer have and the system you have. But why I don't use plain agents is that it becomes so big. So I don't like that one at all. So I like to split it. So that's why cursor is still my favorite IDE for doing this one.
Good. And then Arto asks, do you need to do something extra to manage the context, or is it e.g. cursor 2 here smart enough to handle it?
Let's say that the most of the models within a cursor are smart enough to handle that one. So I don't do here inside these instructions, I don't do anything specific, but of course, also when we are designing ModernPath and how the architectural understanding comes from there we of course we will be having a graph database, so we can kind of a bit more limit the context size into what is actually needed. But here I don't have that good tools for doing that one. So
Then there's a question from Jari that is the old saying of how do you eat an elephant bit by bit? Does it apply here as well? So you divide the existing code tool base into smaller parts and then analyze them and generate the docs and specs.
Yeah, like I said, we typically why we are developing our own tool for understanding the code base is that the overall laziness of these models. So these are quite good on grabbing the big picture from the code itself, but in order to go into the details and go through every file, and that's why we are building our own tools that actually iterate the files and do that kind of iterations in there. But you are able to start documenting also just by using the, for example, the cursor agents. But then you need to. There is a certain way of doing that one, so that you can always, once you go down to abstraction level, you need to update also the upper documents and so on. So it's quite tricky process and not as accurate. So that's why we built our own tool there.
Okay, so question for Mika throughout your demo. So the example extension that is created here is based on existing extensions, and is it about 90% same as the previous one?
Do you mean this what we are currently doing? These new tasks?
That was actually throughout your previous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's probably kind of I think that this will be adding a new extension or like it's actually integrated into the Chrome itself. But I do assume it should be doing a fully independent one. But of course, taking example from my previous tasks. So that's my expectation. I don't know what it's actually doing.
And there's a question if you used GitHub Copilot and did you run out of credits?
Copilot. I use Copilot sometimes. Usually when I'm working with a client who doesn't accept any other tools. If I can choose, I work with Cursor or Claude Code. But like I said, a Copilot I use in customer cases, and it's quite still far behind these other tools. So I'm not that keen on that one, but it's still enough good when there's good instructions. And I like when it comes to my Cursor credits, I'm still on this really old legacy pricing plan where I pay only really small amount of the actual API cost created by Cursor. So probably this work would have cost me like 2,000 euros, but I paid something like 20 euros for the tokens. So yeah, I'm lucky still to be in the really old subscription of Cursor.
So there was a question about the cost, and you responded on that.
Yeah, like I said, this would be quite expensive if you use the best models. Typically in the documentation, I use quite much the Composer one model, mainly for the speed, but it's a bit less expensive than, for example, the Opus and Sonnet are.
Very good. So Pasi, a question: how do you avoid markdown overload, where you have so many documents that they get hard to manage? How do you ensure all documents stay up to date?
Yeah, that's good question. Like I said, all of this one is planned and maintained by AI. So I only sort of define the structure, which means that here in the like HSMD, like I said, I have these documentation practices in there. So I only maintain this HSMD, and then I ask the AI to either do new documentation or update existing. And also as part of the workflow, so after the reviewing code, so I can also document the changes into from the specs into the actual docs.
Okay, Pasi, and one of the most important questions then that Jussi asked, what is exactly the part that ModernPath does enables, and what is the part that plays for Cursor, Claude, and other tools?
Like I said, we produce these documentation, we produce these specifications, and also the instructions. So if you would be using ModernPath platform, all of these things that you can currently see here in the HSMD and so on, they would be provided you by our tool. So you wouldn't have to kind of maintaining them inside the repository, and they would be shared between all of the developers within your team. So we are kind of bringing the centralized architecture and context management here.
Very good. So maybe one more. Let's see.
And then they're kind of still telling a bit about the so for example, this work I have been doing for Chromium, we also offer this for clients as a service. So we have this development kickstart where we actually understand first your code base, and then we will be building these specifications and workflows and documentation, and then training your people to do that, use them, and so on. So this all that you see today can be obtained as a service, or you can, of course, you can try to kind of do the same practices yourself and use the same. So we are not sellers on that one, but we also do this as a training and the sort of like a one-off thing. So with quite modest investments, you get all these practices into your own code base, and we train also your developers to use it well. So
some of our customers using it for developing the tools and the skills we built within to create new code and new innovations, but some being used actually for modernization of the legacy codes. So two main use cases where our documentation and flows are being used.
Yeah, and that's good. Also example on how ModernPath differs from utilizing just the cursor rules is that we can do this kind of we can bring in features from different architectures into new architectures and so on. So like I said, this system level understanding and being able to copy features and business logic from a old architecture into a new one.
Thank you, Pasi. That was actually a minute to go. I just included your email and my email, so feel free to ask questions. And I noticed actually there's many of the customers who we're working with. Thank you for joining, and also anyone curious. So feel free to send us a message, and we're happy to go into more details. So like Pasi said, there's a service we can provide today, and then platform being built for more kind of extensive use.
Yeah, and you can follow me in LinkedIn. So I will be posting the results on this new ongoing task, that whether it succeeded or not. But you will anyway get this read the report this evening from my LinkedIn. So tune in.
That's a promise. Okay, thank you, Pasi. Thank you all for joining, and we'll be sharing the materials and the recording.
Thanks so much all. Hope to see you.
Thank you. Bye.